Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome to the Networking RX podcast. I'm your host, Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. Today, I have another great guest on. We'll go into that here in a second. But as our ongoing subscribers know, often on this podcast, I will be sharing ideas, insights, best practices for being that great person, that professional relationships, and allowing you to excel with respect to building your business network. Occasionally, however, I will be interviewing subject matter experts, authors, speakers, thought leaders, and social scientists. And these people share their knowledge to help us build relationships, which are really important. Today's guest is kind of a trifecta. I've got a speaker, I've got an author, and I have I don't want to call you a recovering introvert, but an introvert. And Fred Joyal is an author, a speaker, an entrepreneur. But he took himself from being painfully shy when he was younger to being able to speak comfortably in front of audiences of 5,000 plus. Fred, welcome to the program.
Great to be here, Frank. Hope to really add some value to your listeners.
Well, I'm sure you will. One of the terms that we were throwing around, you threw around in the beginning is, this notion of being a bold introvert. And I think most people are comfortable with, not comfortable. They understand introvert, extrovert. Many of us are somewhere on a spectrum in there. I guess share your journey, of kind of how you broke out of this and, or not, how you became this bold introvert. And, I think there's a lot of learning here for us.
Yeah, so I was painfully shy growing up. I couldn't ask a girl on a date. I couldn't make a phone call. I actually had a job where I was working, I bumped around and did a bunch of dumb jobs when I finished college. I was aimless. And I was working in this machine shop on the shop floor. And the owner said, "You got a lot of promise." He says, I'm gonna give you an opportunity. Come into the office. He gives me a desk, gives me a phone, gives me a list of all these businesses. He said, "Start calling these guys and see if they want to do business, if they need anything from us." I couldn't dial the phone. I couldn't make a single phone call, cold call, back to the machine shop, right? So this was, and then eventually I started working in the advertising business. And along the way, I kept meeting bold people, and I would go like, "Why the heck are they this way? Are they born this way?" They were the extroverts, but they were also just bold. It wasn't just extroverts; they were taking risks. They weren't bothered by rejection. They seized opportunities. They didn't hesitate. I was the captain of hesitation, and I was learning that hesitation is the opportunity killer. And I was stacking up the regrets, and it just upset me, made me angry. I missed a couple of big things, relationship things, work things. And I went, I got to fix this. And so I just pushed myself into my discomfort zone and realized that I could transform myself to becoming bolder and bolder and bolder. And that all the great stuff happened outside my comfort zone. But every bold move I made paid off, and nothing went bad like I thought it was going to. Because, when you're shy, you're great at coming up with how bad it's going to go, right? You're just not really good at what the odds are of that actually happening. Whereas bold people don't even bother to calculate it. They just go and they deal with whatever happens.
So you still consider yourself an introvert?
I really am, because I have to summon it. So I'm not the life of the party sort of guy. I don't even want to be that guy, but I want to go into a room. I want to meet 4 or 5 people and really connect with them, go deep with them. That's what matters to me. Now, another person may go, "No, I want to know everybody. By the time I leave the room, I want them to all know who I am." That's great. If you're a real estate broker or something like that, You want to connect with as many people as possible. I'm much more interested in who that person is, what matters to them, what are their dreams, how are they getting there, and maybe how I can help, or maybe there's a story I have, maybe there's a mistake I made they don't have to make. That's what matters to me. But I have a systematic way that I use myself, that I teach in my book, to summon my boldness whenever I want. And it's really important, because what happens is, in life, there are moments where there's a window of opportunity that if you don't seize it, it's gone. It disappears. And it could be something as simple as asking for a promotion, and then somebody else bolder in the business goes into the boss and makes a heck of a pitch for themselves, and they get the job you wanted, or a raise, or being bold enough to leave the company and go interview somewhere else. All of those things. And hey, I'll take it all the way to something very personal. So many people are afraid to speak in front of people that they won't eulogize their best friend or a parent who's passed away. They go, I'm not comfortable speaking in front of people. And it's like, I tell them all, it's like, you only get one chance to do this. It's not a performance, right? It doesn't matter if you cry or you get tongue-tied or anything. There won't be a dry eye in the house if you cry. That's not going to be a problem. But what's going to be a problem is if you don't say anything and you have that regret you carry around the rest of your life, that I should have told everybody how important my mom was to me in my life. And when people do it, I see the impact it has on everyone. So why wouldn't you want to have that sharing with all of those people who in that room are grieving that loss? Why wouldn't you want to give them something that they can all connect to? Because that's really what you and I are talking about, is how would you refine and expand your ability to genuinely connect with as many people as possible?
No, I think that's a great answer. It's a fair answer. In all honesty, I'm an introvert. As you're talking, it's kind of describing me, because I will myself to do these things. I will, Friday night, I want to go home. I want to sit and watch TV with my dog and my wife, right? That's it. I don't need to go to a party. I don't need to have lots of people around. When I go to the movies, I kind of plot and scheme, when are there going to be the least amount of people there? Because I don't need that interaction. And, but I think a lot of people look at me, well, you're Mr. Network, you know everybody. I do. I just don't want to know everybody all at once, right? I think that's
one at a time works.
Right. Yeah, right. Go ahead.
But that's another thing. And I talk about this in my book, which is how can you connect? What is a way that you connect with somebody and make them feel like the most important person in the room, the most interesting person in the room? And it's a really simple step-by-step process, but nobody teaches you that in high school or in college, or your parents don't know, or whatever. But it's really simple. Learn their name. Look at them. Look at only them. Never look away. Ask them questions that tell you about them. Not yes or no questions. Ask them like, where have you been interesting lately? Oh, I just came back from Rome. Really? Tell me more about that. Because the other thing people do is somebody will say, I just get back from Rome. And they'll go, I was in Rome. I saw the Rolling Stones there. And, I went backstage and met Mick and Keith and everything like. And it's like, now what does that person get? They get nothing, right? Because you topped them. They go like, I just had espresso and gelato and ate places and saw the Coliseum, you know? So be interested, genuinely interested. And the simplest way to do it is to ask probing questions and then say, tell me more, and never look away. And I've seen the people who do this, they may never say anything about themselves, and people will go around the room and they'll say, did you meet Fred? He's like super interesting. And I'm thinking, I haven't told them anything about me, right? I've just talked to them about them. And that, it's the old aphorism. If you want to be interesting, be interested. But it's a life skill. And then the other thing is also end it well. Don't let the conversation fizzle and trail off. Just if you sense that's going on, ask another question, and then finally say, remember their name again. And if you forget their name, just ask it and say, look, this is how you do it. You say, you're so damn interesting, I forgot your name, right? It's like, I'm busy thinking about all this stuff you're telling me, but remind me your name. And then you go, Frank, it was so great to meet you. There's other people I want to meet in the room, but I loved hearing your story about Rome, and I'm going to go to that restaurant when I get there next time. And then you leave. So you don't break contact. You don't do a walk away kind of thing halfway through the exit, right? You say your exit line and then you exit, and they feel connected with, and it's amazingly powerful. I've watched people do it. I talk about it in my book. I watched Bill Clinton do it when he was first campaigning. I watched him do it with 200 people in a row, one at a time. Everyone felt connected to that guy. I think that's why he won the presidency. He had that ability to make people feel that way. But it's incredibly effective in creating a network of people who feel good about you, and they feel good about themselves after they're done talking to you. And that's kind of the point too, is like, why not make them feel good about themselves? Don't top their vacation with your vacation, or their career with your career, or your job or your income or whatever. I made $1.5 million last year. Oh, great. I made 150, so, don't play that game. Just be impressed with them. Make them feel good about themselves. It's a gift you give yourself in the end, because they appreciate meeting you and they remember you.
You had said something early on, that you go to an event, you like to talk to 4 or 5 people, and other people want to meet everyone. It reminds me of a quote from a coach out there that, she's an author, coach, speaker, Berta Medina. She says, when I go to a networking event with 100 people, or I go to a networking event with 5 people, I bring 5 business cards. When I go to a networking event with 100 people, I bring 5 business cards. And that's her whole shtick too. And she's very gregarious, but I think she's an introvert as well. In fact, we talk about it, going to the movies alone, is that you limit yourself. And I think so often people look at that big networking event as the big networking event. And I think what you've done, correct me if I'm wrong, is you look at it as there's a lot of people around, but I'm just talking to one person.
Yeah. And if you, whatever the size of the network event is, it's only one evening or one afternoon or one luncheon.
Right.
If you meet one really interesting person and really connect with them, that's a home run to me. It's like summer camp. If you make one good friend in summer camp is really good. And that I'm not worried about it. And you also, when you aim that way, you go, like, I can meet a couple of people, or I can even walk into a conversation of 2 or 3 people and just listen in and go, you know what, this is great, but I'm not dialed into these guys. And you can just move on. You can ask a couple of interesting questions. Don't jump in with your comments. Jump in with your questions, because that's how you hook in to a small group of people. And you can just say, this looks like a really interesting conversation, but if it's a private one, I don't want to intrude, but I'd love to join you guys if you don't mind. And they'll tell you the truth, and they'll go, you know what, we're sharing some sort of insider stock trading right now, and we can't let you into this conversation. And it was like, okay, fine. Maybe we'll talk later. And also, don't take it personally, right? They told you why they didn't want you in the conversation. It's not because you're funny looking. It's because they're having a private conversation. Yeah. And this is the other key. This is what bold people don't do. They don't fantasize about other people's judgments and take them on. They understand that everybody's in their own headspace, and the number of people whose opinions really matter to them is really small. They never say to themselves, oh, people are going to laugh at me, because people is a category of too big an audience, and with zero opinion that they care about, because it's like, do they really know me? Why would I worry about their opinion of me? So it's a very powerful insight. I talk about a lot of that stuff in my book too, the insights you need to be comfortable being bold, because you have all these barrier beliefs that are stopping you, that are not accurate, right? And they're just holding you, they're preventing you from chasing your dreams, having a fulfilling life, meeting great people, and having a real connection with them.
One of the things we didn't touch on, what's the name of your book?
The name of the book is Superbold. From
Okay.
underconfident, the subhead is From Underconfident to Charismatic in 90 Days. And the book has exercises in it that take you from the simplest level, nonverbal actually, all the way up to some really crazy stuff, just gradually building your expanding your comfort zone and building your boldness muscle, because it really is just like that. You literally create new neural pathways that make your default mode to be just to act with confidence and act with boldness. And confidence is just how you feel about yourself. Boldness is taking action. Super bold is you can summon this when it matters most. When this like, oh my gosh, there's Tom Hanks or Justin Bieber or whatever. I want to meet them. And you are bold enough to walk up to them and relaxed enough to not freak out and be just a drooling fan or something like that, and be a normal human being. And I have met amazing people, billionaires, famous actors, serious athletes. And because I've learned to relax and come from a place where this is the mantra of a bold person, and the super bold mantra is, I belong everywhere. When you can tell yourself that, you can walk up to anybody and have a normal conversation. And that's what they appreciate. I'll never forget Richard Branson. When I met him, I was with a group of people, and all the other people, it was like they were conducting an interview with him, right? Oh, how did you do that with your business? Or I have a business that does this. What do you think about that? Or who could get me money for this? Or do you want to invest in this? And it was a much more social gathering than that demanded. And so he and I ended up playing chess and talking about politics, right? And we had like 5 or 6 great conversations because of it. At the dinners, you would always go, sit here with me. It'd be big, long table, and people going like, you're hogging Branson. And I went like, he asked me to sit with him. It's because you guys don't know how to talk to him, talk to him like a regular person, and stop interviewing him and stop having an agenda in your conversation. So
do you have go-to questions?
Bold. So yeah. Do I have go-to questions? I do really like, what's the most interesting thing that happened to you this week?
Okay.
And because it's so wide open, but it's not a yes or no question, right? Because are you having a good time here?
Yeah.
Yep. Would you like a drink? Yep. But something like that, or who's the most interesting person you met this week, or what's been your biggest challenge this month? If it's more of a business environment, you can start to throw that things out. It's like, you get something keeping you up. I'd love to hear what that is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to start that way. You can just say, how do you know the host? There's a really great way to start. Or how do you know what got you here to this meeting? And that's a great way to start. They go like, I just know one guy. This is the other thing I do. I pick out if I see Frank Agan in the room, I'm going over to him. He's hiding in the corner, right? I'm going to the shyest person in the room, and I'm going to engage with her or him, and just and pull them out of I aim for the wallflower, because they're usually the most interesting, right? Because they've spent way more time reading and thinking and growing, and they got all sorts of interesting things to say, but they haven't said them. And so when you pull them out, and then I release them into the wild, right? I'll take them and say, I just talked to this guy, you need to meet him, right? He's fascinating. And Frank, meet Eloise. She's done blah blah blah. And here, and then I'm gone. And what do they talk about first? Me when I leave, right? Fred, he's so interesting, right? He's such a great guy, and they know very little about me except I know how to engage and connect, right? Okay. So.
Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about, we are talking about you professionally, things you've got going. We got a book. I assume you're out there speaking, talk about that, other things, seminars, workshops, anything like that going on, consult with businesses.
So what I do is primarily is keynote speaking and executive coaching. So there's a lot of executives out there who are missing these boldness skills because they are the founders a lot of time, and they just haven't developed that. Everybody's got confidence issues when it matters. A lot of people are really confident when it doesn't matter. And I tell people, don't define yourself as shy. Shyness is a behavior you have in certain situations. You're not shy with your family, right? You're shy when you get in these certain situations. So what you want to do is you're not going to change yourself. No matter what I do, Frank, you're still going to be Frank. Mm-hmm. You're just going to be able to reveal the full Frank to people whenever you want. And that's going to be powerful. Why deprive people of the full Frank? But so I'll coach executives, and I'm also doing a 2-day workshop where I'll put you through your paces. It'll be transformational because it'll be very interactive and very challenging. But you will get a sense of how you can be Superbold, how you can really summon that confidence really quickly. And the book, of course, is full of exercises. You can get the book. The book's on Audible and Kindle, and as well as hardcover. If you're going to read a digital version, then you should go to my website, fredjoyal.com, and download a PDF of the exercises and also of the journal format. Because you're going to be journaling. This book is about taking action. This isn't something you read and go, oh, those are some great ideas. No, you're going to do stuff. And that's where the impact comes from. And part of it is journaling. It's like, I made this bold move. I did this bold exercise, and this is what happens. This is what happened. And this is what I wish I said, or I was so glad I said this. And it allows you to track your progress and reflect on it. So.
Can people get a hold of you through your website, fredjoyal.com?
Yeah. And they can download the first chapter of the book if they want. They can find out when workshops are happening, if there's any happening near them. And if they want, they can book a half an hour consultation with me. If they're feeling like, I'm really struggling with this. I don't even know if your book's going to help me. It's like, schedule an appointment. We'll talk about it for half an hour, and I'll get you jump started.
Sounds great. Fred, I really appreciate your time today. Fred Joyal, author of Superbold. I appreciate you being on.
Thank you so much, Frank. I hope it was helpful for everybody.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.